Hey there, Jamie with Brazelton Realty here, and welcome to Living in Northern Colorado. Here we talk about all things Northern Colorado related, hoping to give you a picture of what it's like to live in Northern Colorado. And we call this the Oasis north of Denver. Now, today we are going to be talking about should you consider selling your house as is? All right, so you're thinking about selling your house, and maybe there's a lot of things that you have noticed with your house that could be done. Maybe there's some paint chipping, or use a fresh coat of paint on the outside, or the deck needs refinished, or whatever. And you just don't want to do all the work. So you're considering, what if I just sell it as is? Right? The year is 2021 and houses are just flying off the market like crazy. So why don't I just sell it as is? Now, I want to give us some considerations and some things to think about before we list our house as is. Now, before I begin, I want to say this. Technically speaking, all property is sold as is. You're not buying a property unless you specify you want conditions or you want some repairs made at the beginning. You're buying it as it is in its present and existing condition. That's the language in the contract. So technically all property is sold like this. So what I'm saying in this video is, do you want to specify as is? In other words, you're telling the buyers that they can do an inspection, but they better not come back and ask you for anything because you're not going to do any repairs. Now, I work with a lot of investors, meaning guys that buy property and fix it up and then flip it and then turn around and resell it, and a lot of homeowners, buyers that are planning on living in that house. I work with a lot of both, mostly buyers that are living in the house. And the term as is will scare buyers that want to live in the house. It tells them that the house needs repairs and that unless they're really handy, they need to plan on spending some money to have those repairs fixed. It's also a flag for investors because investors are going to search for that tag, and as soon as they see a listing with that tag, they're going to pay attention to it. So what I mean by that is this: you're going to get less for your house because investors, they're not going to pay market price for your house. They're looking for a discount, and a very steep discount at that. Most of the offers that they try to get accepted are almost insulting in this market because they need a lot of room, a lot of margin in order to fix that house up, pay all the commissions, and then get it resold and actually make enough money that after taxes and everything else that they can be profitable. So if you want to sell your house as is, just know you're going to attract more of those investors, and you're going to detour a lot of those buyers that may have been interested in your house, but you scared them off because you used the term as is. Now, the other thing it communicates, whether you like it or not, is you communicate that there's issues with the house. When I see a house that's listed as is, the first thing I do is I call the agent that's listing it and I say, what do I need to know about that house? Now, under law, Colorado state law, we are required to disclose any material defect that we know of about a house. So if there's a house being listed and I talk to that listing agent and I say, what do I need to know about the house? And they say, oh, it's perfect, it's fine. I'm already suspicious because I know that there's a reason they put as is, and I know that that property probably has some kind of issue. I just have to figure out what that is. And this can cause a huge liability to listing agents and to sellers, because if an issue is found later on that wasn't disclosed, and all of a sudden the buyer feels like the seller knew about this and hid it from them, they'll take them to court. And chances are the judge is probably going to say, well, you sold it as is, but you didn't tell them that the septic tank was destroyed, or whatever the case was. You know, the electrical is knob and tube, or there's asbestos everywhere. You didn't tell them all those things, and you should have known that, and that's why you listed it as is. And if that's the case, you're going to lose. You're going to lose that legal battle, and it's not going to be pretty. So be careful about as is. And if you're going to list as is, don't try to hide any of these defects. If there's a reason, if that septic tank is trashed, if you've got knob and tube wiring, disclose it. Yep, you may sell it for less money because you had to disclose it, but I guarantee you selling it for $10,000 less is better than getting taken to court a few years later and getting hundreds of $1,000s lying to you in court fees because you held this as a secret and it caused a fire or it caused major expense for those buyers down the road. Now I get it, right? You don't want to do a whole bunch of repairs on your house to get it sold. Well, in 2021, it is such a hot seller's market. Quite frankly, you don't need to say I'm selling it as is. There are so few inspection items that most properties are asked for anymore that I just don't think it's really all that necessary. I think what you're doing is you're causing yourself more headache than you're actually causing benefit. One of the clauses that we use a lot is the health, safety, and major components additional provision. Now, this helps us get offers accepted. The problem with it is it's so subjective. What's a major component? What's a health and safety risk? Well, technically, a hot neutral reverse on a receptacle can be a health safety risk, and it's a really easy problem to fix. So there's a lot of things that fit in that inspection provision. So even though you think that you're communicating, don't bring issues to me, even though they say it's as is, unless they waive the inspection altogether, all the objections and everything, chances are there's always room for them to bring stuff back to you. Now in this market, they're not bringing much because they know that if they irritate the sellers too much, they're not going to do anything. They're going to put their house back on the market and they're going to get another offer within days. So they're leery about asking for too many repairs to get done. Now, when you list a property as is, you just should expect that you're going to get less for that property. That's really what you are telling people. You're saying, I'm gonna get less because I don't want any repairs to be made. So just be prepared for that. But here's an idea, and I'm gonna put a video up here. If you do want to get more for your money, here's a staging video that you can use to maximize the amount of money that you will get for your property.